All right, what's up, everybody? Today I'm going to talk about a very important topic I personally think is underrated, and it's the idea of semester versus quarter system schools. What's better? And this is a big topic because in high school, most students are used to semester systems. Some schools do have trimester systems or quarter systems, but that's not always the case. On the other hand, college, though, some colleges can be quarter and other colleges can be semester. So I just want you to know that they are different. And before we even get into that, let's talk briefly about what the general semester looks like or quarter looks like, assuming you go to either one of these schools. So let's talk about semester system schools first. So semester schools include things like UC Berkeley, I believe USC is semester system, and there's other systems, other schools out there too that are semester systems. Those are just the two that I'm going to refer to because I'm from California. So with that, let me give you a brief overview of semester systems. You'll start in the fall semester. So fall semester starts pretty much in late August, and this semester will go for about 15 weeks, okay? So a semester will be 15 weeks in college, and you'll have 15 weeks of hardcore studying, and then you get a break. And this is, the thing that most college students will get, which is a college winter break slash Christmas break slash whatever they want to call it break. If you go to a semester system school, this break will be 5 weeks long. But if you go to a quarter system school, it'll actually be different. So we'll talk about that. Next up, after your break, you'll start your spring semester, which will start in pretty much like late January. And that late January semester will then go for another 15 weeks until you hit summer. And so, late January to like May-ish will be the spring semester, and then you'll hit summer, and summer will actually be 16 weeks. Oh, spring break, by the way, is included in the spring semester for semester systems. So technically this should say, let me see, technically this should say 16 because you have 15 weeks of school but 1 week of break. So 16 weeks total. Now let's talk a bit about quarter system schools. So quarter system schools include things like the UCLA, UCSD, pretty much any other UC aside from Berkeley follows the quarter system. I think Stanford also follows the quarter system. And so this is actually relevant to a lot of schools. So it's a very generic overview, but quarter systems work by having quarters, okay? Everything is broken down into quarters. You have a fall quarter, and a quarter is always going to be 10 weeks long, okay? And so your fall quarter for quarter system schools will start in September, and I'm going to go more into detail about this later on. But the point is you'll start 10 weeks, and then you'll have a 2-week break. So you know how semester schools have a 5-week break for winter, for Christmas and all that? Quarter system schools usually have about a 2-week break. Then you have your winter quarter, which is again 10 weeks, and then you have your spring break, and that's 1 week long. And then you start your spring quarter, which is another 10 weeks. And last but not least, you will head into your summer, which is a bit longer, about like 19 weeks. But the point is, if you add up all the breaks in, quarter and semester system, it's pretty much about the same, okay? So it's not like one system has way more school than another. Both systems will have equivalent amounts. But now I want to talk to you about the ambiguities. What makes one different? What makes one unique? So semester system schools. Here is the UC Berkeley academic calendar. This is the 2016-2017 calendar, and I got it straight from the UC Berkeley website. And I know it might be a bit hard to see, so you zoom in a bit, and you'll see that, the semester starts in August. Okay, August. And this is something that most high school students are used to. College usually doesn't start, early August, but it is very similar in the sense that, UC Berkeley starts on August 17th. So when my sister and I were going to school, and my sister was going to high school and I was going to college, we'd go back to school at about the same time. And note when it ends. It ends on, nope, that's not it. It actually ends right here. So if you were graduating in a semester system, you'd graduate in May, okay? That's really early. That is much earlier than most schools. And so those are the two big points I wanted to point out. Another thing I want to point out is this is when classes are going on. If you look at the orange I'm using right now, your classes will start on August 24th, right? That's when they're going to start. And the classes will end when fall semester ends, which is December 16th. And when you're taking classes, you're usually, I'm gonna be a very, very I'm going to make a very big generalization that in the semester, you'll take about 4 hardcore classes. And each class, MD, stands for midterms. So each class will have about 2 midterms. So when these classes are going on, you can pretty much always assume you'll have 4 classes and 2 midterms. Okay, and that's not actually a bad assumption. That's pretty good. That's actually very reasonable. Having gone through 4 years of undergrad, that's a very reasonable assumption. So just remember that's how many classes you'll be taking, and it's definitely doable. And then the other thing I want to point out is almost all semester systems have this thing before finals week, and this is a huge benefit to the semester system. It's called the RRR week, Reading Review Recitation Week. And it's basically the week before finals where you have a week to study for finals. You have no classes, you have nothing going on. It's just a week to study for finals. And this is actually a huge thing that most semester schools have this because they have much more time. Quarter system schools don't actually have this. So this is something unique to semester system schools. So now let me go ahead and talk a bit about pros and cons. We already talked about it, but we're going to go a bit more in depth. One of the pros for semester system schools is fewer exams, right? Because you only have 2 semesters, and as I told you, you'll take 4 classes, and you probably have 8 midterms. But the point is, those midterms are spread across over 15 weeks, right? Over 15 weeks, which is pretty good. Another benefit is you have a longer break between semesters. As we already mentioned, you have a 5-week break between the spring and fall semesters, and quarter system schools only have 2. So that's a big deal, and that definitely is a big benefit. Number 3, I'm going to be a big star because I think this is the biggest benefit. Most semester system schools will give you at least 1 or 2 days to study for finals. Berkeley gives you a week. So the RRR week is something that you can use to study for finals. And last but not least, you have much more break in between exams. What do I mean by that? When we exam quarter system, you're going to see that once exams start, they don't stop. But in semester system schools, you'll have an exam, and then you'll have like 3 weeks off before you have another exam for another class. And then the point is you get a lot more of a break. So that's really nice. What are some negatives? Some negatives is that you have fewer classes. And what do I mean by that? Well, you only have 2 semesters, right? So you can only take 8 classes, because if you take 4 classes each semester, you can take 8 classes total. That's not as nice because you can't explore as much. Let's say you're like me and you're super indecisive and you want to major in 50 different things. You can only take a finite number of classes, whereas in a quarter system, you have 3 different quarters where you can spread those classes out. Another thing is it's hard to leave a class. And what do I mean by that? Remember, a semester is 15 weeks. So once you commit to a class and then you realize 5 weeks in you hate it, you can't just drop it anymore. You're stuck there for 15 weeks. You could change the grade, but you can't really drop it after 5 to 6 weeks. And so you have to commit to a class. And sometimes if you're not really interested in a class, that can be difficult to do. The third thing is that the spring break in a semester system is not really a break. It's not a break. And again, you might be wondering, what do you mean by that? What I mean is, look, where is spring break in this? I think it's right here. If you look, it says spring recess. Spring recess is in between the spring semester, which means before you go on spring break, you'll have midterms, and after you go on spring break, you'll have midterms. And so you don't really get a break. You're studying usually because you have midterms. And so that's another reason why that could be a negative. And number 4 is the negative is more cumulative finals. Both semester and quarter system schools have finals, but semester system schools are way more cumulative because you have 15 weeks of material. In a quarter system school, you have 10. So that's just my 2 cents. Now let me show you UCLA. So this is UCLA's schedule, and UCLA is a quarter system. And as I told you, the quarters are broken down into fall, winter, and spring. Okay, and each of them is about 10 weeks long. But notice that quarter system schools start in September, which means you start, compared to compared to semester system schools, you start about a month later, but then they also end about a month later because they end in June. So pretty much I told you the academics gets balanced out. And now you might be wondering, in each of these quarters, pre-req, how many classes am I taking? Well, I'm going to be very generalizing again, but on average, you'll probably be taking about 4 classes. Each of those 4 classes in each of these quarters will have about 2 midterms and 1 final. So you right away are noticing this is the same as a semester, right? You're taking just as many classes as semester system schools, and you have just as many midterms. But what's the difference? What's the difference? The difference is that this is over 10 weeks, okay? This is literally in 10 weeks. And if you have 4 classes and 2 midterms per class, then you have 8 midterms over 10 weeks. And this is, believe it or not, a very good generalization, because once midterms start in quarter system, they don't stop. And that means that you're consistently having a midterm for one class, midterm for another class, midterm for another class. And that can be super, super overwhelming. And so, let me go over some positives and negatives. And this is going to be kind of silly because it's going to be the exact opposite of semester system schools. What are the positives for a quarter system? You can explore more, okay? Because every quarter you can take new classes, right? In semester, let's say you take four classes per semester, you can take 12 classes. On the other hand, in a quarter system, assuming you take 4 classes per quarter, which is reasonable, you'd be able to take 12 classes per year, which, you know, if you're into diversity and super interested in a lot of things, you can take 12 classes per year, which is always nice. The next thing that's really good benefit is that you have a real spring break, okay? Because where is spring break here? If we go back to the UCLA calendar, spring break is right in between the winter and spring quarter, I believe. So spring break, and it's 1 week, but at least it's in between 2 quarters, so you can actually have a break. That doesn't always happen with semester system schools. So having that spring break be a real break is actually really nice. I mean, I wouldn't know. I didn't go to a quarter system school, but I'm assuming it's pretty nice. The third thing is you can get a class done with. So what do I mean by that? You know, it's a quarter is only 10 weeks long. So if you get into a class and you don't like it, it's over in 10 weeks. It's kind of like you get the poison out with early, and you don't have to deal with it anymore. And the next thing that's a positive is that you have less cumulative finals. Of course, your finals will still be hard, but they're not cumulative, which is, I mean, they are cumulative, but they're just cumulative over 10 weeks of material, which is not as bad as 15. The negatives are you're always in a go, go, go phase. And what do I mean by that? I mean that once your midterms start, your midterms will not stop. They're just go, 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 go. And you're going as hard as you can, because midterms are going to be hitting you over the 10 weeks pretty much all the time. The second bad thing that's not as great is that you only have a 2-week break. 2-week Christmas break. And this is, again, I told you in semester system schools you have a 5-week break. This is a shorter break, but it's compensated for by their slightly longer summer, okay? And the third thing, which I think is the biggest downer, is they have no RRR week, okay? If you go back here, you'll notice that the final examinations hit, and then there's pretty much, you just have 1 weekend to study for them, right? Your instruction ends right here on December 2nd, and your exams start that following Monday. And so having no time to really study is kind of really intense. You literally have to cram for finals. I don't know how quarter system people do it. They have to cram for finals. Okay. And last but not least, they have more exams, right? You have 3 quarters, and assuming you have, you know, as I said, if you take 4 classes each quarter and you have 2 midterms for that, then you have 8 midterms here, you have 8 midterms here, and you have 8 midterms here, and 3 finals here, or 4 finals here, 4 finals here, and 4 finals here. That's a ton of exams. So you're taking a lot more exams. So personally, I'm going to just go ahead and say it. I'm a big semester fan. For me, semester was better, but that might not be you. Some people actually like the fact that they have more exams. It keeps them more on their toes. Some people like the fact that they have a real spring break. So it's really up to you. And it should factor into your college decision, to be brutally honest. It really should. Because the system your school uses determines how you're going to study, determines when you're going to be, how much free time are you going to have. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Did you like the high school system? Because the high school system, remember, is the semester system. If you didn't like the high school system, maybe you might be a quarter system person. It's all up to you, but trust me, it does make a difference. And if you guys have any questions about this, let me know, because we went over these pretty briefly, but these calendars are really useful, but they can be daunting to understand if you're not a college student. So if you have questions for these, let me know. I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, peace out. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. It would be awesome. Thanks, guys. See ya.